I want to walk you through the new slotted treat box die by Sizzix. It's a plus die, and let's take a look at it. Okay, this is what the die looks like. I think you can see that. There are several pieces. You have to cut all of them twice, possibly this corner piece 4 times if you want to have a little corner in each of the 4 sides. So that's the only one that you would need more than 2 of. So this piece here is the top and the bottom of the box. This is the side piece for the big part of it. This is the other side. One is longer than the other one because they're rectangular. And then this is the top lid that will go around the edge. So you need 2 of each of these. And then here's the little handle. And again, that's the corner piece. So a couple things before we get going on actually cutting this. On this die and on other dies that you may have, you will have areas that are very tight corners. And what I like to do for them is to take a piece of foam and I put that right in the corner, and let's just do it so you can see what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a while, and I find that it really helps me to not have to poke out all of these little pieces after I cut each time. So I have adhesive on the back of the foam. I'm just peeling that off, and then I'm going to stick that. I'm not sure you can see this, but I cut a couple out of chipboard, and you can already see the chipboard is starting to collect in there. So if I put this little piece of foam, that will prevent that from happening. So I'm going to go ahead. Here's another piece. I can see that the foam is depressed there. So that's another piece where my chipboard is going to stick. So I am just going to go ahead and put a little piece there. Just trimming this off. You can use whatever foam you have, and you don't need a huge piece, just enough to cover the area that you want to address. So that's right there. So I'm gonna do that. And that's how I prep my die. So a little bit about this die. It is a ScoreBoards die, and that means that you want to cut it with a material that is thick, up to a 1/16 of an inch, like mat board, chipboard. Actually, heavy-duty chipboard is what I use. It's a 50 point. Okay, I think I have all those little areas, but they'll become apparent as I start using this die if there's another place where I need to put little pieces of foam. Okay, so as far as materials, like I said, something thick. This is a big box. It measures 6.5 by 5 by 3.5. So you want something that's going to be rigid and sturdy enough to hold up to, you know, creating a box out of it. If you want to put anything that has any weight to it, you want it to be able to hold your material. So I have used a 50 point chipboard for this project. Another thing that you want to think about is what machine you're going to use, because as you can see, this is a Big's Plus die. So it needs a machine that has a throat of 9 inches so it can feed through. I have Big Shot Plus, that's what I use. If you have a Sizzix switch, you may have a little issue. Some of these score blades may cut through your material depending on the weight of the material you're cutting. So I have a little couple things that I recommend that you do in that case. One of them is to get a crease pad, and they do have a new one out now from Sizzix specifically for the switch. So you can go ahead on the Sizzix website and look for that and get that. The other thing that you can do is if you find that these score lines are cutting through, you can take a piece of like felt or cereal box or leather that you know, is just a piece of scrap. You can buffer the score by placing this on the die and then your material. Then you would put your piece of chipboard on top and then cut it. And what happens is this piece right here absorbs the cut. So when you look at your finished, your good piece, you're going to have a score line there. It's not going to cut through. So just a little tip in case you're using the switch and in case it cuts through. It depends on a lot of different factors. So I would say experiment with some scrap material before you cut your full-on box. Now, some things you can do is, you know, today I'm just going to cut it out of my chipboard because you know, there are other techniques that we can use, but I just really want to show the assembly of the box. But just for some ideas, what I do if I were to want to cover this with paper, this is a piece that's 9 by 12. So if you have 9 by 12, it's a little bit wide, but it will go through Big Shot Plus. And I just kind of crank it through because I don't want to trim off 1/4 inch, but you can if you want to. Some things that I like to do, because if you have the 12 by 12 paper, you may be, you know, just squeaking by here. I mean, really on this one, we have enough room, but you can see the end is here and here. If you want, you could cover this with wrapping paper or tissue paper or whatever. You know, you don't have to be limited to the 12 by 12 paper, just so you know. I really do like how the gift wrap goes on. There's so many pretty patterns, you know, you don't have to invest in expensive things. You can just use what you have on hand. Okay, so I did go ahead already and I cut 2 sets out of my chipboard of this die. So let's go ahead and put it together and you can see how easy it is and what a cool box this makes. Now I do have another option. This was made out of the scraps that I had left over, I think, or I may have used other scraps I had, but I'll show you what these are in a minute. First, let's just go through the pieces again. As I said, this is the top and the bottom of the box, okay? So that's how big your box is going to be. Now, when I design a die, I try to have 3 ways that I can use my pieces that are the parts of the die. So what I was thinking for this, these are great book covers. So I have an order in for the new cinch and I'm excited to get it. And I thought, wouldn't this be a great way to use my cinch and just make some nice little hinged books out of these 2 pieces? So right away we have one use. The box would be another one. And let's see what else we come up with as we're going through. Okay, so here are my handles. We'll put these on later. Here's my little corners. These are really the working pieces that we're going to make. Now, one thing that happened when I was designing this die was I wanted to have one slot on it for the handle. It was going to be a little suitcase, and I kind of changed it to a tree box along the way. But I wanted to have one slot where I could put my little handles in. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of room on this die, so I had to have a slot come on both sides. If you don't want to have 2 slots, just cover it with paper. What I do is take a little piece of Scotch tape on the inside, I just tape it on, and then, you know, once you cut it, just keep this piece, pop it back in, and add your tape. You'll never even notice it. And if you don't want to use either slot, do the same on both sides. There's nothing saying that you have to use it, okay? So, like I said, it's a ScoreBoard die. So when we're putting this together, it does take a little bit more thought. One thing I do want to say, if you do use these, if you add your color or pattern on the front of this die, when you cut it, you're going to want to face the pretty side facing the die, okay? Because that is where you're going to get your score lines. That will be the outside of the project. So just make sure if you want, you know, if you cover it with paper, flip that over before you cut it, okay? You would do it one time and then you would say, I did that wrong. I'm not doing that again. Okay, so here are our other pieces, and this is how we're going to put together the body of the box. All right, so I like to line them up so I know that I'm doing it right. So you could use, adhesive-wise, you could use whatever you want. I, for the sake of the video, am going to use my red line tape because it's nice and strong and it doesn't take that much time. So I'm going to do that. But you could use glue. You might want to clip the pieces together just to make sure that you have a good bond. I'm going to fast forward and do all my tape, and then I will be back. Okay, so now I have my tape on all of my little tabs here. Now, another trick that I sometimes do, when you have all of these seams here together, they may get a little bulky. So what you can do is, when you score this over, you can kind of peel away a good bit of the excess paper that you have here so that your seams go together a little more, you know, easily. The only thing that I would say is to, if you're going to do one, do all of them so they're consistent, okay? But I'm not going to do that today. We're just going to assemble it how it is. So let me get my die pick because I can never get this glue off. It works almost too well. I recommend that you use a strong adhesive because these are heavy-duty materials and you want them to really have a good bond, and if you have some wimpy little, you know, glue or like a tape runner or something, that's not going to hold them together. I will tell you that. Now, you can fold these over before, because you're going to want to fold over on all the score lines. You can do it before or after. It doesn't really matter. So we'll do it after because I kind of forgot. So this is a very easy craft. It's not hard to do, okay? Yeah, I would recommend maybe starting this down a little further because you don't want the adhesive to peel up from the chipboard. If it does, you can just take a little bit of glue in there and, you know, get it back under control. Okay, one more to go and we will be good. And do burnish this down too before you start to assemble it. See, that's kind of coming up. Just kind of tap that down. All right, now what I do is I take all of my score lines and I bend them all the way over. And what that does is it breaks the fibers. And I would recommend that you do this before you peel off your release paper because these are sticky and you're going to get it on your fingers. And you're going to lose a little bit of adhesion there because your fingers are touching it. So don't do what I do. Why do I say that a lot? You know, part of crafting is making mistakes or figuring out the right way to do it. So I don't mind that. I am sacrificing for you, for the good of mankind when we put this together. All right. So I think it's coming along. One more. And then we're ready to, now this fell out, so let's hang on to that. And you can see that I'm folding it all the way over so that it is a little more malleable to bend. Okay. All right, now let's line this back up the way it was so we know. There's only one tab, so really you can't go wrong with this. You only have one tab to adhere to the next. So we're just going to make a big long train of these little pieces. And one thing I would recommend is that you either stack them this way so that you get the tops all done right together, because you want all of this to be one smooth box and have all the edges where they're matching up. Okay, so you just put it on like that. Once you have it how you like, then press on it. So we've done a short and a long. Now we're going to do another short. So we're going to use the tab on here, match that up, press, and our last one. Yeah. So you're going to see all of our tabs should be at the top here. It's really easy to put it together. You can't really confuse it because it just has to go that way. All right. Now there's another end down here that has the tab. So we are going to put this together and make our little box. Okay. So now we have, there should be a rectangle. You might have to work it a little bit. And then we're going to take one of our rectangles here and make sure these are flattened down. And if you want to add a little glue to this, you can do that too. And then what I do is I lightly press this on here and then just kind of jiggle it around a little bit and make sure that I get all of my corners square, because you don't want a wonky box. All right, so that feels pretty good. So I'm going to press, and then I'm going to turn it over and press down on the inside to make sure all that glue is working, okay? So now we have our nice little box, and if we did want to tape these in, we would do that before we put it together, but it's not too late to do it now, and you can see you don't even notice that. Okay, so now let's do the same thing for our lid. So I'm going to speed this up too, and actually one tip is I am going to do one continuous strip here, because two reasons. One is I don't want to take the time to cut it and then start it again, but the other reason is that is going to strengthen our join when we go around the corner. So I'm just going to do one big long strip here. Okay, so I learned my lesson, and I am going to fold over on all of these score lines first this time, while I still have my release paper on. And something that I would recommend, now see this big long strip, if you're going to fold this over, take it alongside the edge of your table and do it all at one time. You want to have even pressure when you bend these over, because say you start doing this, this may lift up over here and separate, and you don't want that. You want to have even pressure when you do all of this folding here. So let's just make sure that's folded over. And I'm going to do the same over on my table. And then you want to fold it 180 degrees. So all those fibers are nice and relaxed, and they do whatever you tell them to do. Okay? All right. And then this is just a little baby one, not a problem. Okay. Now, one thing I did want to say, some people, when they put this together, they think that the lid should go over, you know, hang down over the box, but it's designed to have a hinge here and to align perfectly with the box. So, you know, if it's not doing what you think that it should do, just hang on and we'll go through. It's really easy. But the thing is, when I design these, I'm limited by size, so I have to do kind of some shortcuts that I understand. You're like, what is happening here? So that's why I'm doing a video, so you can make it as easily as anything. All right, so see how we just had to peel off that nice one big piece? But if you find that your tape is coming off, or you know, it's not sticking, you can add glue on top. And I would use like an art glitter glue or some strong adhesive. I'm also going to take these off because that's going to hold our lid together. And we're almost done, kind of. Now, if you want to decorate this a little, you can do that. That's the fun part. But we just want to get this assembled today. Then we're going to have more ideas. So keep checking back on my channel and on the Sizzix page, because we are going to have lots of ideas from the team and from you. We love to see what you make. So please share them with us. I've got a fan club. It's really fun. Eileen Hull Fan Club on Facebook. I have an Instagram page. You can share on there. Just, again, make sure that these match up. And then I do lives on Facebook and YouTube Tuesdays at 6 Eastern and Thursdays at 4. So come and watch them, because we also often will, you know, work with the latest dies and show kind of some other ideas, ways that you can use them. And these days, you know, dies are a good, they're a good bit of money. So you want to make sure you can get as many uses out of them as you can. All right. So just make sure that this fits on the top like you did with the bottom of the other one, see? And then again, press into the corners. And there you go, we've got a lid. So look at this, isn't that a pretty little box? I love it. All right, so now let's do just the last thing would be our little handles. And if you look at these pieces, they're kind of hard to see. There's only a tiny little score line there, but there is one. So you're just going to fold this over on the score line. And it's right at the edge there. And here's the other one. So you're going to bend that over. And then you're going to put these together. You're going to glue them. And you're going to put some glue or tape on here. Well, let's just do it. Let's use glue this time, just to be, you know, not show favoritism towards adhesives. All are good. So I'm just going to put my adhesive here. So I'm going to keep my handle together. And now I have a little, you know, I was thinking this would be an adorable little doll suitcase to like hold, you know, shoes or little Polly Pockets or whatever dolls your kids have these days. That's what my kids had. That tells you how long I've been around. But then you're just going to take this piece here and bring that through. You're going to add adhesive here and here. But it's kind of a cute little carrying handle, and it's pretty secure. You know, just let that sit for a couple minutes and, oops, catch on. Now, you know, you don't even really have to decorate that much. You might like to draw or letter, and you can do that right on the box before you put it together. You know, that would be cute. All right, and then I'm just going to press down like that. And then we've got our nice little handle. And that is your box. Now, let's talk about hinges or how we're going to put this together. Now, this piece here popped out, and I don't need that, so I'm just going to get rid of that. I am going to put the top on my glue, though, because it really likes to dry out on me. Okay, so let's talk about options for how to keep our lid on our box. I mentioned before that I had cut these pieces out of leftover mat board, and I think that I am going to use that for this one. I like how it just kind of sits on there and it won't move off. It'll keep it really locked, the lid locked on pretty well. But here are some other ideas. What I like to do, what I have done, and I'm not going to do it now, but I'll show you, is I take my box, and that's going to be my front. So I would take this to the back, and you can, you know, whichever way this turns out to sit the way you like, just, you know, do it that way. But then what I do is I hold these together with clips, like my little, get your edges right up to the edge here. And make sure that they're flush, because this is very important when you go to do what I'm going to tell you to do. All right, so make sure these are right even. And then what you're going to do is take a piece of Scotch tape. You could use washi tape, but it's not as sticky. I take a piece of Scotch tape and I run that right along there, and then I press down. Then I let go of this. I take my clips out, I open my box, and then I go on the other side too. You can't even see the magic tape. It's matte, and that will hold your box together. If you want to kind of strengthen that, if it's going to be something that you're going to be opening and closing a lot, you can take hinges that are metal, and you can put those on with brads. You can attach them. You can use like maybe a leather strap. You can use your Sizzix surfaces. They make great hinges. You don't want anything too thick because that will add into the mix and make this part be higher, you know, and then it'll close down on there. So just, you know, play around with it and see what you want to do. But for now, let me show you the other thing that I would like to show you. All right, so these are just little pieces of chipboard, and you want to kind of space them into the middle. Don't overlap them. So I might have to trim these a little. Let's do that. So you can have a little gap there. And let's just, and they don't even need to be the same, really. You just want them to hold your box lid on, okay? So what you would do is figure out how much space you want, you know, to fit here. I think that's about a good amount. And let's use our glue again, just because it's easier. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue up here. You know, this is going to be open, so I don't need any there. And then I'm just going to lay that inside my box and make sure that I have an even, you know, piece sticking out, and center it so that you're going to have another piece down here, so you don't want them butting up next to each other. So let's do the other long one. And I don't know what to call this. It's kind of an alternate lid, but this fits nicely. And you can see if you had added paper, you know, this would be really cute. As it is, it's still cute. It can be anything. These dimensions here, you could just cut a piece of paper with a tiny bit. You could ink the edges and then add a piece of paper on here. They're all rectangular and easy shapes to cut. You don't have any ripply edges or anything like that, so don't worry. You can always add your paper after. But I think there's so many fun things that you could do with these boxes. You could even take one of these and turn it into an organizing system, you know, like little office cubes, and put things in there, and so much you could do. So again, I am just, this one is a little short, but that's okay. I mean, the point is that you want to just have it so that there is a lip and it will hold the box lid on. Okay. So if you like tips like this, if you like to make boxes or books, come on over to our community and join in. We would love to have you and come and make some stuff with us. All right. So you ready for the unveiling of our lid here? Okay. Now this, normally I would have this sit for a little bit, so it, you know, the glue has time to dry, but you're going to just take this and set it on top of the box, and it just goes right in there, and it will come off like that. So if you want to use these, you can, you don't have to. Oh, and the one other piece that we have is the little corners, so let's just see what we would do with them. Here I've only cut 2, so you know, you could cut these out of metal, out of leather, they would be pretty, and just add them on for a little accent, but you don't have to either. Another thing that you could do is put some little beads or something on the bottom, like little feet, and have it stand up. It could stand this way. Any way that you want to orient it, you are perfectly welcome to do. Make it your own. Use your colors. Have fun with it. And definitely make sure that you come over to the Eileen Hull fan club or my Facebook page, Eileen Hull Designs, or tag me on Instagram and show me what you made. It's at Eileen Hull on Instagram. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that you get one of these and go to town, make one, and share it with us, okay? Thanks so much for watching.